Y bueno, como decía, para nosotros es un placer. Welcome to Cádiz University.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Y gracias a vosotros. Vosotros ya conocéis un poco la sesión de la mecánica de este tipo de sesiones. La idea es que se haga de una forma más comunicativa posible. Si alguien más se incorpora, porque se sume un poco al turno de preguntas. Él va a empezar hablando un poco de alguna de sus proyectos, de alguna de sus ideas. Susana nos va a traducir, le va a traducir para que no haya ningún problema idiomático. Y bueno, la idea prevista es que estemos hasta las 8:30, si no tenemos por qué hacerlo obligatoriamente, sino que un poco puede fluctuar el tiempo en base a los temas que estemos tratando y al interés que despierte. Nada más, gracias y espero que disfrutemos, estoy seguro, con Ken Stringfellow.
Yeah. Well, hi. We met, Alberto, and your name? Ivan. The fact of the matter is, if you guys are the only ones here, maybe we can just work here.
Here?
Yeah, I mean, because this is actually harder for me to do. But since there's just the 5 of us, if you
Opina
want to come to
que
this
si
side,
somos solo
maybe it's
5
much
podemos
easier.
trabajar aquí todos juntos y no usamos el cañón y así es más fácil para él también. Porque no ha conseguido configurarlo.
No, es que comentaré como lo estamos grabando,
Sí.
porque la idea es grabarlo y tenerlo como
Okay, Salva told me that we are recording this because the idea is to put the video on YouTube.
Oh.
On the UCA channel, you know, so maybe it's better if we work with the screen, so the audience can see. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well,
it's okay.
Well, I don't know if we want to put on YouTube the world's tiniest lecture, but we'll see. Maybe that's not good advertising for me or you, but.
Okay, we will see. We will see.
Well, I guess the first thing to say is hi, and then I guess you guys can tell me about what you do.
Lo primero es decir hola y vosotros podéis contarle qué es lo que hacéis.
I play in a band and I also like to come to concerts and right now I'm not playing, but we used to play 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you... Bueno, si hablas en español, es que prefiero porque así voy traduciendo yo para el público que lo vea por YouTube.
Ah, yeah.
Sí, o si quieres decirlo en inglés también, lo dices en español y luego en inglés, si tú sabes hablar inglés, perfecto, ¿vale? Tocas en una banda, ¿no? Okay.
Y que solía tocar en una banda hace un año,
Ajá.
pero que ya por circunstancias que estuve fuera y tal, por lo de intenté montar otro proyecto, pero ya estoy un poquito parado ahora, pero sigo un poquito eso, escribiendo en blog y eso.
He writes in a blog about music. What's the name of the blog? ¿Cuál es el nombre? 31 canciones, 31 songs.
31 flavors.
Okay.
Y bueno, también he hecho una reseña de cuando tocó en el Monkey Week con esto de Pedro Pérez, etc.
He wrote about your concert at the Monkey Week and with Leda 3, you remember?
Yeah, of course.
So.
Yeah, great.
Yo me llamo Alberto, yo también toco en grupos locales y eso, ahora mismo toco en un grupo que se llama Detergente Líquido.
He plays at the band, named Detergente Líquido, Liquid Soap.
Okay. Yeah.
Y otro proyecto como que vayan los demás
And another projects.
Hay un que son estas dos cosas.
And what do you play? ¿Qué tocas?
En Detergente Líquido toco la guitarra y canto.
Okay, guitar
y composición.
Lyrics.
Y en que vayan los demás hago todo.
Okay. In the other project he plays all.
Okay.
Y también estás inmerso en un proyecto discográfico, ¿no? Tú trabajas también con gente de...
¿Discográfico?
Sí.
No, realmente no.
¿Pero colabora?
Me colaboro todo lo que puedo porque somos colegas, pero no, realmente el proyecto son ellos dos, son solamente un
Okay. That's not important. So he's I think that the 2 of them are music players.
Yeah, that
is the
seems
most
to be the case.
And a relation in the music world.
And how much recording do you guys do? What kind and
Solo maquetas.
solo demos? Yeah.
Demos.
And what do you make your demos on? What kind of?
Estudios.
Bueno, yo desde home studio hasta estudio Es que nunca he visto un estudio más grande que el de José, así que no sé cómo será.
I never seen a big studio.
But I mean, what kind of program do you use for making your demos?
¿Qué tipo de programas usáis?
En los estudios usan Pro Tools.
Pro Tools.
Yo en el home studio uso Cubase.
Cubase.
Okay,
At the home, he used Cubase.
I see.
And you too? And you? Pro Tools. as
Okay,
well.
so you guys are fairly familiar with everything in Pro Tools and you know the things.
Okay.
Okay, and then, you know, well, I guess it would be interesting to, I don't know if you guys brought any examples of your music to play. If you have something we could play.
You mean you want to put some examples from your music? Or?
I'd like to listen to what they do.
A él le gustaría escuchar lo que hacéis, si puede ser.
Internet, se puede escuchar.
Sí, tenemos internet. Yeah.
Yeah, I could pull up something on I don't have Spotify on this computer, it's the only thing.
No tiene
so-
Spotify, pero en YouTube se puede.
If you have a Bandcamp,
O Bandcamp.
yeah, so we find the, I didn't get online yet, so I just gotta wait
Have
for
the
the network
Wi-Fi
to
on.
come up.
Okay, Wi-Fi.
If it reaches this room, very well.
¿El nombre de la red cuál es, Salvi?
La red es UCA Pública.
Vale.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm gonna get anything in here. You might have to open the door a little bit.
Claro.
Are you getting it on yours? Cause I get nothing.
No le llega la señal del Wi-Fi. No.
Oh, no, finally got it. Okay, so we got,
Okay, we got it.
UCA
Air Public.
Publica
Pública.
and all this
Un
stuff.
momento, por la clamítica.
It's in minus.
No, esta no es.
¿No?
Esta es la clave del ordenador.
Vale, correcto.
Oh,
Esa poetic key.
wow.
Okay.
Okay, so we got something here. Let me turn off anything that has to do with, that makes sound, like Facebook.
Si,
Sorry.
And no
si queréis,
problem.
we can start with Ivan or
Sure.
whatever.
Almost there, folks.
Okay.
We're just gotta tidy up a little bit so there's no
Yes.
sounds coming through, interrupting us. Well, okay, so Bandcamp, if you want to come over and just type in your thing, we can have a listen from here.
¿Quieres
As long
venir
as
y
my
metes tú la dirección y ya podemos
connection is
escucharlo?
fast enough. The connection is not super fast, so just beware.
La conexión es muy rápida.
In fact,
Sorry. Eso parece.
see if there's anything. If somebody else has a faster connection, or
Si alguien tiene
Or
una
like
conexión
3G
más rápida,
connection.
no.
I mean, my computer's fast, but we're not in the right room.
Mi ordenador es rápido, pero la conexión de internet es lenta. sí.
I'm not sure we're gonna get much here. Nor do I have a CD player, so I cannot play CDs even.
No. These computers are thinner and thinner. So.
Yeah.
¿Está conectado, no, Susana?
Sí, está conectado.
Barely. I mean, like, I would say that I am, but it's not fast. It's not fast enough to really load anything. So I don't think it's gonna load. Actually,
No va muy rápido.
No.
it's not really happening. Well, so much for that. So forget about the Wi-Fi.
Ya, vamos a olvidar el tema del wifi y vamos a empezar.
Sí, pero a mí me gustaría, Susana, que empezara contando un poco brevemente, ¿no? Sus 5 minutos, más o menos lo que hicimos con los pasos, ¿no? Una pequeña, breve resumen de su experiencia musical, no su currículum, mucho menos, pero sí un poco su...
Okay. Salvi would like you to start with an intro about your experience as a musician, not your CV or, you know,
Yeah.
like, I don't know,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
maybe at the beginning,
you know,
how it started, everything,
perhaps
it's a-
my story
cómo empezó todo.
isn't very interesting, really.
Esa mi historia no es muy interesante realmente.
but it's taken me to some interesting places. You know, I mean, my story is exactly like everyone else's story, pretty much. You know,
Mi historia es quizás como la de cualquier otro.
I like music, and
Me gusta la música.
my interest in records got me to start learning instruments.
Los discos que me interesaban fueron los que me introdujeron en la música.
Yeah, I started forming bands with my friends,
Y comencé a formar bandas con mis amigos.
and y basta. I mean, like that's it. I mean, like it's very funny, but
Divertido.
somehow this has led, you know, me to some incredible associations. You know, like not only my own bands, you know, I have traveled around the world to play and have gotten, you know, a following in like we have here in Spain, for example. People after 25 years still come to see our band. But also, you know, I've been thrown into some very high company, you know, just playing with some of my most revered musicians myself. And I've played with the band REM for a long time. I played with the band Big Star, who I'm really into, for a long time.
Que este trabajo le ha permitido viajar por todo el mundo. En España también han estado mucho, que le ha permitido tocar con bandas que él tenía, con bandas que a él siempre le han gustado, como REM, REM, Big Star,
yeah.
exactamente.
And, you know, for reasons that even I don't really know exactly, but I mean, I've gotten to play with one of the Beatles, I've gotten to play with one guy from The Who, I've gotten to play with a guy from Led Zeppelin.
Ha podido tocar con uno de los Beatles. One of the Beatles,
One of the Beatles, one of The Who, one of Led Zeppelin.
Uno de los Who.
You know, this kind of...
Led
Yeah,
Zeppelin.
I played with John Paul Jones at one point, both of us backing up Robin Hitchcock at one point. I had to play bass, which was super intimidating.
Tuve que tocar el bajo. Fue
But
muy
yeah,
intimidante.
And I played with Neil Young, I played with...
He tocado con Neil Young.
Yeah, well, all kinds of bands, the Afghan Wigs, Mudhoney.
Mudhoney.
I mean, I start to draw a blank because there are so many, and also, you know, I've
Son muchas bandas con las que ha
made
participado.
records with Damien Jurado as his record producer, and you know,
Con Damien Jurado.
played with, you know, I've got a very, very long CV with a lot of pretty cool names on it.
Tiene un largo recorrido de experiencia haber tocado con grandes nombres de la música.
And I can't give you a good reason, actually. I'm not the best musician, you know.
No puede daros una gran razón de por qué empezó. No cree que es un gran músico. Why don't you think this? Why do you think that you're not a big musician?
Oh, I'm not saying that I'm not a good one. I'm a good musician.
Okay,
you know?
it's a good
But
musician.
to say that I'm the best is not
Okay.
accurate, you know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
No es
good.
elegante decir que es el
Yeah.
mejor, pero es bueno.
You know, I mean, I know what I'm doing, but
Sé
you
lo
know,
que hago.
there's lots of people who, you know, who about specific things, you know, like whether it's recording or playing guitar or whatever, they know more. There's certainly people who know more.
Hay
So-
poca gente que pueda tocar varios instrumentos o también ser productor.
So the question is, why? You know, like why is it that I'm sitting with you now, and that, you know, and that anybody would think that's interesting?
La pregunta es por qué él está
to
sentado
happen.
aquí ahora mismo y por qué considera que esto tiene que ocurrir.
It's a good question, right?
Es una buena pregunta.
But you know, and are we going to be able to translate that to some kind of advice thing or whatever? But I don't know. I mean, my assumption always, when I work with people, like as a producer,
Cuando trabajo con gente como productor,
my assumption is that they know as much as I do, in a way, and so, you know, whenever I work with someone on a record, it's a kind of it seems like I'm a kind of teacher in a way, but in reality I'm a teacher and student at the same time.
Okay. Cuando trabaja con alguien como productor en un disco, él parece que sea como un profesor, pero él se considera más un profesor y un alumno.
And even today, I mean, I'm not really here to be like a teacher. Even though we're in a university, I'm here also to learn. So and to learn about people. And maybe.
Aunque esté aquí en la Universidad de Cádiz, no ha venido como profesor, sino ha venido a aprender de la gente, de vosotros.
And maybe that's perhaps maybe something to say about how things have worked out for me to play with all these different people, and that my interest in other people is always genuine, I think, and maybe that
Su interés en otras personas siempre es genuino.
and maybe that's something that that makes it easy to work with me in a way, because I'm not bringing a big agenda.
Okay. Y quizás eso es lo que hace fácil trabajar con él.
En su carrera es percibible, al menos yo lo veo así, primero un interés por las canciones, por la música, pero conforme ha ido evolucionando la carrera, yo lo he visto, y él además se ha visto también plasmado en facetas más polifacéticas como productor, en el concepto de sonido, ¿no? en buscar, en investigar más sobre la noción del sonido que sobre las propias canciones, ¿no? Que era lo que al principio le estaba, lo que sus primeros discos más interesados. ¿Es cierto esa percepción que yo tengo?
He thinks that in your career at the beginning you showed more interest about the music or the songs, and now you are going to show more interest in as a producer. Do you think this is true?
Well, I of course.
Not only in the producer, in the sound.
In the sound, okay, sound engineer, something like this, or
yeah.
the sound.
Well, the fact of the matter is, when I started, at the beginning, I mean, the way we make recordings from a technological point of view. Oh, hey, we have some more guests.
Tenemos a alguien más.
Sí, sí. Hola.
Hi, come on in.
Hola.
Hey.
Hola,
Howdy, howdy.
Claro.
Okay, al principio, okay.
Yeah, the way we make records, you didn't miss too much, don't worry.
Estamos hablando sobre un poco, Salvi ha preguntado que él percibe un cambio en su carrera, que al principio él se interesaba quizás más por la música y las canciones, las letras, las canciones, y ahora demuestra un interés más en el sonido y en la producción. Y bueno, está contestando a esa pregunta, ¿ok? Continue, please.
Yeah, obviously the way we made records in 1985, when I started playing bands in 1980, and we had no opportunity to record,
Cuando empezó a hacer discos en los 80 se grababa de otra forma y no tenía la oportunidad de grabar, solo tocaba, ¿no?
There was no, that we could find, there was no recording studio in my town, and at that time...
No había estudios de sonido en su ciudad.
In that time you had to go to a recording studio to make a record, that's for sure.
Where did you have to go to record?
Well, I guess we would have to go to Seattle or Vancouver or something like that.
Tenían que ir fuera de su pueblo para poder grabar, tenían que ir a Vancouver o a Seattle.
But at that time, of course, you had to go to a studio to make an album.
En ese tiempo tú tenías que ir a un estudio si querías grabar un álbum. No, I think that there's no possibility to do at home like today. Nowadays.
Yeah, well, of course. So this thing
Maybe with
wasn't happening. Yeah, this was not happening at all.
Yeah, esto no estaba ocurriendo, la producción.
But having said that, my first band, one of my first bands, I guess it was my first band actually, a band I formed in 1980 with friends from school.
Su primera banda, la que formó en 1980 con algunos amigos del colegio.
Before college.
No, college is school is colegio.
Oh, okay.
Okay, high school is instituto.
Oh, okay, because in France, college is high school.
Yeah, but this is not French.
Okay. Yeah. So I formed a band with the guy who I would later form the Posies with.
Formó una banda con el que luego sería su colega en los Posies.
And
Hablamos de John Bauer. We are talking about John Bauer.
John Auer, yeah.
Sorry, John Auer.
And
Auer.
incredibly enough, he had a recording studio in his house.
Oh, yeah. Increíblemente él tenía un estudio de sonido en su casa.
His dad, who was normally a college professor, teaching economics and whatever, was also a very good musician for more of a hobby. And being a college professor in a small college town in America is a pretty good job.
Okay.
So with his extra money, they made a
Home
kind of
studio.
almost professional recording studio in a way. Very small, huh?
El padre de John era profesor en la universidad de económicas, pero bueno, parece ser que el sueldo en Estados Unidos de profesor de universidad le dio para montar un estudio de sonido en la casa que era casi profesional. O sea que-
This studio, they took a kind of basement room, made a separate control room with a window, and of course, so you had a bigger room to play music in, and then a small room with all the equipment, kind of normal, like the studio. And the big room, also when there was no music being played, was like the TV room for the family.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it was
Estaba construido en el sótano y bueno, tenía la sala donde se tocaba y luego separadamente tenía la sala de control con su cristal y todo, su ventana. Y bueno, cuando no era un local de grabación, era la sala de televisión de la familia.
From a technical point of view, we had an 8-track reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Tenían un 8 pistas, ¿no? Sería 8-track.
Sí.
Tenían un 8 pistas para grabar.
On half-inch tape, which I guess is like 2 centimeter, tape like this. Not the tiniest tape, but the
Okay.
next size up.
Yeah, like half inch is like 2 centimeters.
That's what I think.
Centimeters. Okay, de 12. 2 centímetros de...
Yeah.
12 milímetros, vale. 12 millimeters.
No, bigger, because 12 millimeters is the smallest one. That's a 1/4 inch.
Ajá.
And then this is the next size up.
Dice que
like
era más
this.
grande que la de 12 milímetros.
Entonces, una media pulgada.
Era... Sí, dice que era más grande.
Well,
He says that maybe it's not half inch. Okay.
we can do this. One moment. I'll call the authorities.
You want to...
Because it's good to know. We need to know,
Él
right?
está intentando ver cuál es el cambio, ¿vale?
Inch
De inch,
to centimeter,
half,
0.5 is
1.27.
yeah, 1.27 centimeters.
1 centímetro de 27.
And we had a mixing desk of 12 channels.
Tenía una mesa de 12 canales.
It was not like a fancy recording desk. It's sort of almost like a live mixing desk by Tapco, which is like it's more like a live thing. But you
Era
could
para,
record.
era para grabar directos, pero bastante bien.
We had very basic microphones, and we had some interesting things because at this point in the 1980s, equipment from the 1960s was uncool. So we had some vintage compressors and things like that from the 1960s.
Tenían un equipo vintage, así antiguo, de los 60, que no era muy cool en esa época, pero I think that you like the vintage equipment.
Well, I mean, sure, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
now people pay thousands and thousands of
Hoy en
dollars for
día
this stuff
la gente paga miles y miles de
And
dólares por este tipo de equipos.
because it sounds good, but at that time,
But at that
people
time,
didn't know.
yeah.
They didn't know that those things would be interesting, so you could
Yeah.
buy them for nothing.
Okay, en aquellos tiempos se podían comprar por nada porque no eran tan valorados como hoy en día ese tipo de equipos. así antiguo y bueno, habla también de los micrófonos que tenían que eran bastante básicos.
But Salva said something interesting, you know, he said at that time maybe I was more interested in songs and now maybe more about sound. And the fact of the matter is, I think sound for me is, you know, it falls into place when the conditions are right. It comes together when the conditions are right.
Sounds,
you know, like
and songs.
Songs are a little more work to make them great.
Las canciones necesitan mucho más trabajo para hacerlas grandes, para hacer grandes canciones, se necesita más trabajo, ¿no? Y and sound, it makes, what do you mean? Sound?
Well, like the sound, you know, of what you're recording, of a song, of an instrument, I mean, you know, it's not really so difficult to make things sound good, you know, if you have a good sounding instrument or a good singer, I mean, it's going to happen.
Claro. El sonido va a ocurrir solo si tienes un buen cantante o buenas máquinas para que hagan buen sonido o para tratarlo luego. El sonido solo va a suceder, pero hacer una gran canción es mucho más difícil.
And in the 1980s especially, you know, was the very beginning, right, of digital music.
En los 80 eran los principios de la música en digital.
A point where control over the sound of music could be taken to really dramatic places. Even then, you know, that was the beginning of digital sampling and digital manipulation of sound, where we could sort of leave reality behind in a way.
Como eran los comienzos del tratamiento digital de la música, ellos vivían un poco aparte de todo ese mundo, no estaban tan en contacto.
And so, in a way, like music production and music sound occasionally threatened in a way to make songwriting kind of irrelevant in a way.
Yeah. You mean that make it relevant to be a songwriter?
Well, like like you could have like a big sounding track, and that was good back then. And if the song was really crappy, it didn't really matter. You know, like if you had like the biggest drum sound in the world, that mattered.
Okay. No importaba mucho hacer una gran canción porque si el sonido era bueno, en aquellos tiempos era lo que importaba.
And with this attitude happening at that time, this made my partner and I, John, very sad.
Why?
Because we felt that was that was missing the point. You know, that the song was where the story was being told. And in the 1980s, really the story was like starting to be buried under the sound of things.
Ellos, John y Ken se sentían tristes porque esto sucediera, ¿no? Porque ellos pensaban que la historia se escribe con canciones y bueno, que poco a poco el sonido iba enterrando las canciones, ¿no? Iba...
Incluso desde mi punto de vista, el sonido de los 80 era horroroso.
He thinks that the sound in the 80s was awful.
Yeah, a lot of it was terrible. Yeah.
Sí, era terrible.
Definitely. If you told me today, like that what so many people would be listening to is like kind of folky, like acoustic, rootsy music, you know, on the pop scale you have things like the Lumineers, or you know, and then in a more indie scale you have, you know, Fleet Foxes and things like that. If somebody told me that was going to be like the big thing, you know, 20 years later, I never would have imagined. At the time, it looked like music would get more and more technical.
En aquel momento parecía que la música se hacía cada vez más y más técnica, ¿no? Se usaban más cosas para hacerla sonar mejor, pero si se lo hubieran dicho ahora, que dentro de 20 años iba a ser así, no se lo hubiera creído.
So it's kind of interesting that this turned around, you know. So, but at the time, we started the Posies band because we had grown very disenchanted with sound for sound's sake, and very enchanted with the idea of the song being the number one priority, which really was kind of a 60s idea, you know, that was dying at that time.
Ellos tenían una idea como muy de los 60 sobre el tema de las canciones. Y bueno, cuando empezaron los Posies, pues su idea era que las canciones eran lo importante. So I think that maybe Salva is right about his thought.
Well, he's right, except that I haven't really changed my mind. You know, the song is still something that you cannot live without.
Okay.
I mean,
está de acuerdo, pero solo en que él sigue pensando que las canciones son parte importante en la música.
And that's not to say that sometimes a beautiful sound can help. Of course, it can help a song along, but
Eso no quiere decir que un sonido bonito ayude a la canción. Pero
in the middle there's composition. Composition still, for me, sets the stage. You know, even in every kind of music, in a weird way. Even like.
Composition is in the stage as well. Do you think?
Composition is in the middle of every kind of music. Even like something like dance music, which has long periods where there's no composition. There's just long periods of repetition.
Repetitions.
It will always come back around to at least a good top line, as they say. You know, which is like these hooks, and that's now like a mini composition. It's
Yeah.
just like one line, but
Yeah.
it has to be there.
Yeah.
In dance music, you know, a top DJ will have to enlist a really good writer to come up with just the one line.
Yeah.
You know, but it needs one.
It needs.
It needs one
It
at
needs.
least. Otherwise, there's no structure, you know,
Yeah.
in a way.
Él piensa que en la música la composición es fundamental en cualquier canción, incluso en la música electronic music o dance music, la música dance, que es una música donde hay largos periodos de repetición, pero también hay una parte que es la que engancha al público, que es la parte, digamos, de composición, que incluso los que se dedican a hacer este tipo de música necesitan saber algo de composición y hacerlo.
No, yo es que una cosilla del tema. Yo no me refería tanto a aspectos técnicos, sino a aspectos de identidad musical, porque el sonido también forma parte de la identidad musical del grupo, ¿no? Por ejemplo, en los 60 la Motown tenía un sonido muy uniforme, muy concreto, y era un poco, formaba parte de la identidad de todas las canciones de Marvin Gaye, de los Temptations.
O sea, no te refieres tanto a un aspecto técnico como un aspecto de sonido que une, ¿no?
Claro,
Algo.
Yo creo que la figura del productor, que es una figura que él ha trabajado y que él ha sido productor, no ya es que ahora tenga mucha importancia, es que tiene una importancia decisiva en cómo el sonido, cómo esas canciones, que por supuesto son fundamentales en cualquier propuesta musical, llegan al público, ¿no? Y cómo el público percibe esas canciones como una identidad sonora. O sea, no los aspectos técnicos.
Yeah, he didn't mind about technical aspects.
De cuestiones de equipo y tal. Hablo de cómo el sonido
He minded more about a sound that identify a band, you know, like or or a type of music like Motown, the sound of Motown, or he mind more like a sound, un sonido, ¿no?
Claro, como el sonido
What do you say?
no únicamente referido a aspectos técnicos, sino a aspectos creativos.
Yeah.
Como el sonido también es un aspecto creativo. Y yo, por ejemplo, en sus discos noto que él cuida mucho el sonido, pero no únicamente desde un punto de virtuosismo técnico, que dedique muchas horas al estudio, no, que lo que ocurrirá, sino que él cuida mucho el sonido porque forman parte de la identidad de sus canciones, de cómo sus canciones pueden ser reconocibles, ¿no? Especialmente en el último álbum.
He thinks that you take care in a creative way about the sound of your songs, not
Not technical sound.
not technically. You know, you can be a great technique at the studio and made great songs with the tools, you know, but he means about the
aesthetic of your
the
music.
aesthetic or
Yeah.
of your
Well,
music.
the thing is, like, aesthetic is an idea, but you have to know how to get the idea.
Estética es una idea, pero tienes que
It's not
saber
only conceptual,
coger esa idea.
right? It's not only conceptual aesthetic.
No es solo conceptual.
Because that's the whole trick, right? You have what's in your head, and then you have what's coming back from the speakers. How do you reconcile that? I mean, you can
How do you pass the thing in your head to
you
the...
can come up with a great concept, like, I want to have no symbols. Oh, okay. I mean, platos, you know.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
symbols.
And that's a concept. Okay, you know that, but you know, again, like, sometimes art works well with arbitrary concepts. You know, like, okay, I'm gonna do no drum fills. Okay, great. Or I'm gonna only use toy instruments. I know someone who'd done a whole record on only toy instruments. This kind of thing. But
Puedes trabajar con cosas materiales, con diferentes instrumentos, decir que no va a haber batería o solo voy a trabajar con instrumentos de juguete, por ejemplo.
and you know, now we run into a whole thing because, like, you know, we all run into this experience, and I'm sure you run into it too. Why is it that we like our demos sometimes so much better than our records?
You prefer?
Sometimes it happens this way. This is a question we want to ask.
What question? Sorry.
The question is, why do we prefer sometimes our demos to the records? Why is that?
Que ¿Por qué preferís hacer maquetas a hacer discos?
No preferimos, porque no tenemos dinero para hacer récords.
We haven't. They haven't money. They haven't got any money to do a good record in a studio.
Yeah.
Pero que
Yeah. They don't prefer. It just don't have enough money to go to a studio. This is the
Pero lo
answer.
que él dice muchas veces es verdad, que muchas veces se consigue un sonido con mucha calidad hoy en día, en lo que a la hora de hacer una maqueta en un estudio medianamente válido, antes que, por ejemplo, grabar un gran disco, que muchas veces escuchas discos de grupos que incluso en la misma línea del sonido que tú quieres llegar, lo que es tu maqueta, tú puedes percibir perfectamente que tiene un sonido mucho mejor para el que tú has querido hacer de lo que ha podido conseguir otra persona que a lo mejor es discográfica.
He thinks that sometimes you can hear better demos than a CD who was recorded at a great studio. Sometimes you can get with a demo the sound that you want.
I think so. Yeah, I think you know, it's strange because a song is written in a particular moment with a particular mood, and sometimes the demo is made soon after that mood or in that mood, and that's maybe the only time you felt that way.
That way.
You know?
Sí, que a veces la canción se compone en un momento en el que te sientes de una forma o estás de una forma en particular y la grabas como maqueta y ya
Muchas veces también
refleja ese humor que tenías o ese tal, pero no es imposible que luego cuando a lo mejor lo vuelvas a grabar en un estudio suene como tú lo grabaste en la maqueta, ¿no? Que fue en ese momento.
No sé.
O tú mismo, vete si quieres, lo dices en las dos formas.
I think that sometimes when, as you said, you compose the song, but after this, when you go to the studio to record it, the songs change completely. It's a different song, and maybe sometimes better, sometimes it's worse. But I think that's the point to get the sound that you want, that you really want sometimes in the studio.
Well, yeah, and this is the danger. Too much focus on the sound, you may lose fact of the matter that they're all there to support an emotional effect. They're all there to give you a feeling. So if you spend too much time worrying that the kick drum isn't like deep enough, I mean, it's a nice detail, but it's not the crucial detail of the emotion of the song.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A veces se pierde tiempo o si pierdes demasiado tiempo preocupado por cosas, aspectos técnicos, ¿no? Si esta batería tiene que estar o este sonido, pierdes lo más importante, ¿no? Que es más crucial, que es no sé, el sentimiento de la canción, o the feeling, of the song.
How do you record the emotion of the song in the studio?
¿Cómo grabas los aspectos emocionales en el
If
estudio?
there was a simple answer to that question, I think the main thing is to make a condition where you really don't feel like you're in a big studio. You know, like
Lo principal es no pensar que estás en un gran estudio.
sometimes when I work with some artists, you know, the fact of the matter is they're so intimidated by the fact that it's
Yeah, they are
the
in
studio.
a big studio. Yeah.
In fact, with certain artists in the beginning, I probably wouldn't take them to like a really big studio.
Ha trabajado con muchos artistas que se han sentido intimidados en un gran estudio. Probablemente si hubiera sabido esto no los hubiera llevado.
You know, I mean, it's cool to work in big studios, but maybe to start out with, I tend to make a lot of records in a small place in Amsterdam, really about this big, and it's not really a studio actually. It's more like a rehearsal room with 2 rooms, so you can separate, but it doesn't look like much. It's really crowded and it's like it's kind of underground, so it's really dark and kind of crappy, and it doesn't look very fancy, and there's no mixing desk. There's just a computer and some equipment for mic pre's, we say, you know, to get the sound from the microphone to the computer, basically.
Previos.
But there's no desk, and it looks very fucked up in a way.
Yeah. So you prefer to record? You like to record there, in this studio in Amsterdam?
It's the perfect mix because this place looks like shit.
So you can feel comfortable.
You can feel comfortable. You know, it's pretty cheap, so the bands are happy with this. And you know, the guy who owns it gives me the keys. So if we want to work 10 hours, it's cool. If we want to work 20 in one day, it's cool. You know, just lock up at the end of the night.
Ahora él está trabajando en un estudio en Ámsterdam que es bastante, es como un sótano, es bastante, no sé, como no es muy guay, como él ha dicho, no es ni muy moderno, es un poco oscuro y demás, pero es muy confortable para las bandas. Tiene solamente un ordenador, varios previos y tal, pero no tiene una mesa grande de canales y demás. Pero bueno, une las dos cosas, ¿no? Que se puede grabar bien y aparte pues el lugar hace que los músicos se sientan más cómodos a la hora de expresar quizás estas emociones. Y bueno, el tipo que es el dueño le deja las llaves y allí pueden pegarse las horas que quieran trabajando.
But there's one other thing to it, in that it actually sounds good there.
El sonido es bueno allí, ¿no?
Yeah,
It's a good
for
sound.
somehow this crappy room actually doesn't have any.
Por alguna razón, este lúgubre cuarto tiene un sonido very cool.
Let's put it this way: it doesn't have any negative artifacts. Artifacts are like what we in music, in sound. Artifacts are like things coming from the room, and like in here we have some funny sounds happening in here. We would
like
not want to record
or
here.
Something, echoes?
Kind of like echoes and things like that, or frequency build up,
reverb or something,
or places where one frequency is louder for some reason than natural. But there's not this room has no negative things. It may not be the most beautiful studio room, perfectly tuned and blah blah blah, but it doesn't have anything bad about it.
Este estudio al parecer no tiene aspectos negativos con respecto a la grabación, no hay eco, no hay reverb, no, o sea, no entendéis, ¿no? Más o menos lo que es que no sé cómo se dice en español. Sí, ¿no? Que pegas una palmada y se queda seco, it's like a dry sound, ¿no?
It's not even totally dry. It's just there's nothing negative.
There's nothing negative.
Yeah, there's no there's nothing strange that you would not want to hear.
No hay nada extraño en el sonido que tú no quieras. It's like a
I don't
clean
have
sound.
to wrestle. Yeah,
Clean
it's
sound?
clean. You could say
Clean
it's
sound.
clean. It's
Un sonido limpio.
it's basic. Hi guys, we actually didn't meet our friends.
Volviendo a lo de antes,
Está saludando, que dice que nos conocéis y quiere conoceros, ¿cómo os llamáis?
Ah.
Que antes tú has comentado que hacían un poco.
¿Qué hacían y a qué se dedican? Si os dedicáis también a la música o que le contéis un poco quiénes sois y demás.
Yo soy Antonio y soy un realizador audiovisual,
Okay.
una productora de vídeo y estoy adentrándome ahora un poco en el tema de vídeos musicales. Un poco,
Okay.
porque siempre he estado realizando cortos o documentales. Es difícil entrar en este mundillo porque no hay mucha competencia, ¿no? Entonces yo quería hacer una pregunta sobre...
Voy a traducirlo, ¿vale? He's a director video, you know, like a video, music video. He's now trying to start in this world. There's a lot of companies, but he wants to start as a video producer or music video producer.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Volviendo a la pregunta de antes, porque claro, aún no hemos tratado con gente del nivel de artista, ¿no? Entonces pues a la hora me hago yo la pregunta de a la hora de intentar realizar un vídeo musical con gente de ese nivel, pues si tienes alguna forma de, tienes algún consejo de cómo dirigirte a esas personas respecto de crear una música, si tiene una música que es muy buena, que le ha creado ese sentimiento de verdad para que a la gente le guste, transmitirlo igual en el vídeo no es lo mismo, es más complicado. Pues estás dentro de estás delante de una cámara y tienes que, lo que vas a reflejar en ese momento es lo que tus fans van a ver. Entonces la verdad es que la pregunta es como consejo, o sabe de alguna manera, o cuál fue la parte más difícil para él si ha hecho algún tipo de vídeo musical.
Okay. He wants like an advice about your experience working with music video producers, because he, returning the theme that we talked before, he wants to know about how to show in a music video the feeling that the song that we made. Sorry. How do you get the same feeling? How do you transmit the same feeling in the video than in the song? You know, like.
Well, that's a very considering I've never directed a video, but
considerando que
I've
nunca he
been in a
dirigido
video.
un video.
And-
Have you got any experience working with another video song?
Well, I've made a few videos, and I think it's kind of interesting because actually my favorite music video that I've made for my own music, whether it's the Posies or myself or whatever, is one where I don't even really appear. I mean, I'm barely in it. And
this is your favorite video?
yeah, I think it captured the spirit of the song the best. I mean, I think me singing the song is not necessarily what you need to see, but more like an illumination of the song. So it, even though all the people in the video are people I never met, somehow it does a very good job of capturing the feeling. And I guess what's interesting.
El video que más le gusta es.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Es precisamente uno en el que él no aparece casi nada, tampoco conoce a la mayoría de las personas que aparecen en el vídeo para nada, pero parece ser que es el vídeo que él cree que más ha mostrado el sentimiento de la canción, ¿no?
And I think why it worked so well is because it's, you know, I spent some time telling the director what the song to me was about. But his video was not so literal. In that sense, he didn't just take my word for it in a way.
So finally he did whatever he
Well,
wanted, or?
he
Oh,
did
he
something related.
Okay.
But he He
Él
did
habló con
something true.
él habló con el director del vídeo y le intentó transmitir un poco el feeling, ¿no? El sentimiento así. Pero al parecer el director del vídeo no lo tuvo en cuenta, pero poquito. Al final mostró otra cosa, ¿no?
Because this is
Pero bueno, quedó bien.
a great paradox about music in that the gap between you and me, between you and me and you or whatever, is 1 millimeter and it's 1 million millimeters. I mean, you will never know what's really in my head.
Yeah.
I can explain to you all day.
Esto es una gran paradoja en el mundo de la música, ¿no? Que podemos estar a 1 centímetro de cerca, pero a millones de centímetros de distancia para entendernos, ¿no? Para entender lo que cada uno piensa o quiere.
It's like when we read an author in translation.
Claro.
We're never sure.
Es como cuando leemos a un autor traducido, que nunca estaremos seguros si realmente es lo que él, ¿no?
Pero muchas veces, aunque él tenga un sentimiento sobre una canción o lo que sea, al yo escucharla también me puede gustar. Y muchas veces yo puedo crear un sentimiento diferente al que él me quería transmitir, pero igualmente positivo, ¿no? En otro tipo de sentido.
Puedes decirse en inglés.
When you create a song and you have a feeling, a concrete feeling for that song, maybe I hear it and I have a totally different feeling, but it's also good, you know?
Yeah, I think
totally
it's
the opposite, maybe, but
you have to once you make a recording, you have to say goodbye to it in a way. You want to be when you make a record for yourself, you want to be like total control over your message in a way, but then it goes and then it becomes something else, and you'll never have control over its message again. And this is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You know.
I think so.
You know, why there are times when someone has said, "Oh, I love this song," not about mine necessarily, it could be anything, and they go, "Yeah, because this one line is so amazing," and I'll go, "That's not the right words, actually." Oh, really? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It truly, we shape it ourselves. It becomes our thing. So, this is a strange thing because
Music.
I think when making like a music video, if you try and be too exact and too literal, it's kind of like you'll never make it, in a way. You cannot be so precise. So it's better to kind of forget trying to recreate the exact emotion of the song and do something in parallel in a way.
Piensa, respondiéndote a ti el tema del vídeo, piensa que es mucho mejor no estar literalmente mostrando lo que la canción dice, ¿no? Que cree que es mejor mostrar un camino paralelo, ¿no? A lo que la canción quiere decir o quiere transmitir a la hora de realizar un vídeo musical de una canción. Y bueno, que también ha hablado sobre lo que él decía, ¿no? La magia de que cuando quieres decir algo con una canción y el mensaje se va cambiando conforme se va escuchando la canción, ¿no? Que a veces incluso le han llegado a decir, me encanta esta frase, y él se ha visto sorprendido porque ha dicho, no, pero si es que no dice eso, dice otra cosa, ¿sabes? Que es muy gracioso, pero es la magia, ¿no? de todo esto. Sí. Bueno, te puedes presentar también.
Yo me llamo Miguel, vengo haciendo música hace unos 10 años, pero era muy pequeño entonces, y ahora cuando he empezado a desarrollarla, me he dedicado a hacer música, a intentar dirigir proyectos artísticos de varios grupos y tal, pero evidentemente aquí industrialmente pues no se puede salir adelante y la mayoría pues me canso y lo dejo.
He had 10 years of experience doing, playing music and helping another artist to do this music. But
Helping in what way?
¿En qué los ayudas a otros músicos?
Pues
As a producer.
dirección de vídeo, de guión artístico de vídeo, porque el técnico no controla apenas nada, pero de vídeo, la organización de los eventos,
At the videos, at the music videos.
management,
Management or...
Entonces actualmente estoy trabajando yo solo, yo hago la música, yo la muevo, yo hablo con producción y yo soy el que me encargo de
Okay. Actually, he do everything but his own, you know,
Okay.
play music, recorder, and move the music in the industry, his music.
Okay.
What
Y-
kind of music do you?
Yo hago hip hop. ¿no?
Hip hop.
Mm.
Okay.
Entonces, yo quería preguntar la dificultad que nos parece a la pregunta de compañero. Si antes encontraba una dificultad a la hora de expresar la música o lo que sentía a través de la música, es verdad que de lo analógico a lo digital ha habido un paso, pero que en los últimos años estamos experimentando un cambio muy fuerte en el audiovisual, y es que parece que si no tienes vídeo en YouTube o no tienes esa canción, realmente casi no existe o no llega a eso. Él lo nota como un peso a la hora de producir artísticamente.
He thinks that nowadays, the music videos has an important role in the industry of music. If you don't have a video of your song, you don't have a presence of in the industry. You need a video from your song.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's,
What do you think about
yeah, I
it?
mean, you know, people will definitely be more likely to click on a video, you know,
YouTube
than just an audio like player or something like that. Really, I mean, at least as an introduction, it's like totally crucial, and they're easier to make now. I mean, much like, you know, records have gotten cheaper because the tools are more widely available.
Yeah.
I mean, videos, I mean,
Es crucial, para él es muy importante tener un vídeo de una canción, es muy importante, y actualmente además dice que con la facilidad que se tiene respecto a las herramientas de trabajo, que son mucho más baratas y más accesibles.
the video that I made that I was talking about, that I liked so much from my last album,
What's the name of the song?
The song is called Super Wise.
Super Wise.
From my last, I wish we had a good internet
El vídeo
connection
al que él
to
se
play it.
refería antes es de la canción Super Wise de su último disco.
It's made by a director from Sevilla.
Sorry.
The director is from Sevilla.
Ajá. El director es de Sevilla, el director del vídeo.
Yeah, his name
What's
is
the
Joaquín León.
Joaquín León
Yeah.
es su nombre.
Yeah, and you know, he actually does some stuff for Monkey Week now and then, like doing little tiny short advertisements and videos that they make.
With Paco Loco and Enrique
I
Bunbury.
think they've done all kinds of
that one?
interesting
The last one?
things. I don't know if they do the last one,
Ah,
but
I
they
don't
do
know if
some
you
over
have
the
seen
years.
or not. Sorry.
Entonces, él
Okay.
controla, está atento a lo que le van a publicar. Quiero decir que si se preocupa, está todo en todo el proceso de
Okay.
los vídeos que...
He wants to know if you are in all the sorry. He wants to know if you mind about the video, if you are with the director working in it, or if you take part of this, or if you left the work to do.
I basically did the conceptualization up front, and we discussed some ideas, and then I let him do his thing.
Normalmente él trabaja así, en lo más conceptual, le transmite todas las ideas que le gustaría y tal, pero luego lo deja trabajar. Y bueno, como ha dicho antes, el director de este vídeo es Joaquín León, que es de Sevilla, y creo que ha dicho que ha hecho algunas cosas también para Monkey Week, algunos vídeos, no sé, de promoción.
Un vídeo que hacen al final de todo lo que
O puede ser los montajes que hacen de resumen, sí, también, no lo sé.
And actually, I had an initial concept, actually, that I kind of had some ideas about, and I said, yeah, these kind of things could be interesting to do. And he said, oh, okay. So he went back and he made a treatment. And it was kind of like my ideas, very literal and very elaborate, and like something kind of fantastic in a way. And I was like, wow, it's so amazing. And like, how much is this going to cost? And he said, I think I can make this for like 25,000 euros. And I said, yeah, we need to do something else. Maybe it's better if you come up with some ideas.
Sí, bueno, que le sigue transmitiendo ideas y demás, y bueno, el tipo parecía que lo estaba haciendo todo literal y que lo estaba haciendo todo fantástico y demás, y bueno, que Le dijo que eran 25,000 euros. Que eran como que el precio, dice, bueno, ¿cuánto me va a costar esto tan fantástico y demás? Y dijo que 25.000 euros y dijo, bueno, entonces tendremos que hacer algo más.
And so he came back and he said, okay, I've got something that can be made like way cheaper, and it's kind of more like one idea. I had like all these different episodes I wanted to make, and he said, this is kind of one idea, but we can explore it from different angles. And I said, okay, that sounds great. And this video cost 2,500 euros, 2,500, so like 1/10 the price. But it's an incredible. It looks very special. It doesn't look cheap.
Okay.
And
it doesn't.
For what he's done, and what's really cool about it from a film point of view, it's a great trick because it's a video that takes place, it moves constantly. You're in like a school, and there's something, we can't say a story, but there's development, there's conceptual development as the story moves from one room in the school to another, to another, to another. And sometimes we see something happen to someone that later in the video we see from another angle. So in effect, time.
You can see the two angles at the same time or something.
No, it's all just, you just come back to a place and something, you saw something from one perspective a minute ago, and we go through a hallway, we go through a thing, we see the same thing from another perspective. So time is unsure which direction it's going in.
Okay.
But the visuals are evolving, and the fact of the matter is the video is one shot.
One shot.
Yeah, one shot from the camera backing out, moving down the hall, moving down to this.
Okay.
And the people, sometimes you see a person we move from one room and then the person is in the next room and you're like, how is that possible? But actually they used like sometimes you see the person from the back, so it's a body double.
Another body.
Yeah, someone with the exact same outfit and stuff. So it's kind of an incredible technical feat.
Okay. El vídeo transcurre en un colegio y bueno, el tiempo no se sabe muy bien si va hacia adelante o hacia atrás. La cámara va recorriendo diferentes clases del colegio y va mostrando diferentes personajes, pero lo más importante es que está rodado en una sola secuencia, es un plano secuencia entero, que eso es lo que lo hace más, técnicamente lo hace un gran trabajo y lo hace muy difícil. Y a veces también dices, pero ¿cómo es posible que aparezca el mismo tipo en una de las salas y luego en otra? Y bueno, es que se usaron actores de doblaje que salían por detrás con la misma ropa y demás, pero bueno, que el efecto ha quedado muy chulo.
¿Cómo llegó a Joaquín a conocerlo para realizar esa video musical?
He wants to know how do you arrive to Joaquín León to do the video?
I think I saw some of the short films for Monkey Week 2 years ago when I played, when I met you.
Yeah.
And I saw some of these things and I said, hey, those are really cool. And I asked around saying, who's making these videos? And they said, it's this guy named Joaquin. And so then he was there at Monkey Week, so I met him.
Okay.
Just like I asked people, I said, I want to meet this guy, he seems really cool. And I said we should work on something sometime. And I said, I'm making a record soon, but I'm not sure exactly when. And it turned out to be just later that year or whatever. But I'm thinking ahead, because
About him.
The thing is, like, you make a record, and you can get, like, we barely need to press CDs. It's almost not important CDs, but we still make them sometimes. This takes, you can record, mix, master, make the CD. You could do it all in 2 weeks if you really wanted to.
Wow. This is
like CDs can be made like
record.
overnight. If you want to make vinyls,
Yeah.
you have to wait a little bit longer.
Okay.
The factories, there's only like 1 or 2 in Europe and 1 in the States. So if you want to make
Yeah.
vinyls, you have to think ahead.
Yeah.
If you want, the fact of the matter is the design, the visual design, and the video, you have to think like, you should think about that way before you even record, in a way, like, because all these things have to line up, especially if you want to do it cheap, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously that's better.
Okay. A Joaquín lo conoció a través del Monkey Week cuando vino a tocar hace un par de años o 3, cuando hizo la banda sonora de Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Vio un vídeo de él, un corto de él, y le llamó la atención allí mismo en el Monkey Week, preguntó que quién era y lo pusieron en contacto con él y le dijo que bueno, que en algún momento le gustaría trabajar con él. Y fue a través del Monkey Week, entonces él siempre lo ha tenido en mente. Y luego también ha comentado que bueno, cuando grabas un disco tienes que tener en cuenta los tiempos, ¿no? Si se trata de un CD, quizás el proceso de producción, masterización y luego las copias puede tardar 2 semanas. Si se trata de vinilo, pues tarda más porque, bueno, creo que ha comentado que en Estados Unidos solo hay un sitio para hacer copias de vinilo y en Europa 2, creo que entender eso. Y bueno, tienes que contar con los tiempos para que todo salga a la vez, ¿no? El vídeo, las copias y demás, que es algo que a la hora de saber con quién quieres trabajar es algo que tú tienes que ir viendo antes de... Entonces él cuando conoció a Joaquín ya sabía que iba a grabar un disco, no sabía cuándo, pero estaba en ello. Entonces ya decidió que él iba a ser la persona, ¿no?, con la que quería trabajar. Okay.
Me gustaría saber, de todas las colaboraciones que ha tenido en su carrera, con gente como Ariane, como Big Star, ¿cuál es la que, desde su punto de vista, lo ha enriquecido más personalmente? Neil Young, pero bueno, me interesan más las colaboraciones continuadas, ¿no? Por lo menos con una gira, como hizo con Big Star, o como Ariane, que ha trabajado en varias ocasiones, ¿no? ¿Cuál es la que, desde su punto de vista, le ha aportado más como músico, ¿no? Y cuál es también la que más le ha sumado a su creatividad?
What collaboration that you have made with Neil Young or Big Star or with all of these big artist lists that you mean before? What are for you the most como la que más te dio, ¿no? La que más the collaboration that brings you more creativity or brings you more, you know, likes you more.
Oh, well,
The most special maybe for you or something.
It's hard to say, I guess.
Es duro elegir.
You know, I think I like things that are, the further from what I understand in a way, in a way that's the music I want to hear the most. When I hear about a new artist or something, I really want to. I want to be afraid, in a way. I'm always looking for a music that will be like, I don't understand what's happening. What is this? And really.
But in a way to work with a new artist.
Yeah, sure. So I made an album with a band called Hangai.
Hangai.
And I helped produce the album, and they're a band that they're from China, and I made the album in China, and their music is musically you can understand it. It's like in 4/4 and it but lyrically and to some degree mood-wise, I had a little trouble understanding where they wanted to go, and of course they sing in Mongolian, and so I don't understand anything about what they're trying to say, but and their instrumentation was different. But the fact of the matter is, this was great. It was great that I didn't really know what was happening or what they wanted a lot of the times.
Está diciendo que bueno, que es difícil contestar a esta pregunta, pero que realmente a él lo que le gusta es sentirse asustado. Cuando va a trabajar con una nueva banda, a hacer algún tipo de colaboración, le gusta sentirse como que no sabe por dónde va a salir, ¿no? La cosa un poco, incluso, pues ha comentado que trabajó. What's the name of the band?
Hangai.
Hangai. Menciona esta banda, Chinese one.
They're Chinese, but they are from
Mongol?
From the Mongolian part of China. So they
sing.
They sing in Mongolian. They generally speak Mongolian amongst themselves. But they are, they met. Well, they kind of formed in Beijing. They used to have more like a almost punk metal background, and then they made this new band which is kind of like based on Mongolian folk music but played very rock.
Okay. Pues bien, esta banda que menciona, que al parecer hablan entre ellos en Mongolia, pertenecen a la parte china de Mongolia, aunque viven en Pekín. Pero entre ellos hablan en mongol y también cantan en mongol, y bueno, todos vienen de metal punk.
They started that way, yeah.
Empezaron como con el sonido metal punk, pero ahora están rescatando música tradicional de Mongolia y un estilo un poco rock, ¿no?
Not in popo, like really played rock.
Vale, es como música tradicional de Mongolia, pero tocada estilo rock.
Y su experiencia con Ren, con Aurien, porque a mí me parece que en las giras que él estuvo tocando, me parece que incluso aportó mucho al sonido del grupo. No se limitó a ser un reproductor de las canciones de Ren, de Aurien, sino que su voz especialmente, y su teclado y su intervención en el grupo me parecía como que estaba muy integrado en el sonido y que hacía una aportación muy personal a la música de Rey, que ya de por sí también lo es, ¿no? Entonces me pareció que quizás es donde yo lo he visto de las intervenciones con las que ha participado, no ya integrado, sino
aportando, ¿no?
Activa,
He thinks that your collaboration with REM was the more active collaboration, because you and your keyboards and your voice was very creative. You not only play the things that they tell you to play, even you
más participativo, más que no sé cómo decirlo, no sé cómo se puede explicar.
You made
You get into the song of the band and you make it change the sound.
I started playing with them, just playing their songs that were already made, and went on tour and played live and learned parts from the record to recreate to some degree, and took some liberty as well. But then we made an album, and in that way, they really wanted me and encouraged me to go the farthest left I could, and to do things that they wouldn't think of, and some of them were very extreme, like kind of crazy sounds that I didn't see how that would fit in a way, but it all kind of came together. But they were really, they're like, the first day I was a bit scared and playing some organ, trying to make it sound nice, like, oh, this is a professional record, I better be professional. And they're like, hey, anybody can do that. We want more Ken in the mix. Well, okay, you asked for it, you get it.
And what record was?
That record is called Reveal.
Reveal.
Yeah.
Bueno, que al principio, cuando empezó con REM, él se limitaba a tocar los teclados que le decían y las canciones que le decían, y bueno, interpretaba, ¿no? Simplemente. Pero luego en la grabación del disco Reveal, pues ya le permitieron aportar todo lo que quisiera, pero al principio se sintió un poco asustado, scary, but then luego ya se soltó un poco en cuestión de, bueno, estoy aquí, esto lo puede hacer cualquiera, soy músico. Y
hay canciones como Living New York, que cuando las canta Aurien sin él, suenan distintas. Cuando él aparece en escena y introduce la voz, teclado, suena distinto. Yo he visto varias versiones, esa canción me gusta mucho, y he visto varias versiones.
Cuando canta él
interviene, es cuando la canción llega a su clímax, ¿no?
He thinks that some songs like
Living New York, yeah.
Okay, are better when you appear with your lyrics and keyboard.
Oh, that's nice.
He prefers that version of the song. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very high compliment indeed.
Yo quería preguntar por el proceso de composición que sigue. Si si empiezas por la letra, por la melodía, por la regla de acordes,
Okay.
el proceso de fabricación.
He wants to know about your composition process. How do you start with the lyrics, with the guitar, with the what more?
Si es una idea que vas desarrollando.
With the idea that you develop with.
De una melodía o de un.
How do you start and how is the process
Well,
in your compositions?
I think the first thing to do is like empty my head in a way and just
Lo primero que hay que hacer es vaciar la cabeza.
I don't really when I'm writing for myself, you know, I don't really write with any kind of agenda, so I don't it's very rare that I like wake up with a great idea for a song. I mean, it can happen, but it's
Yeah.
not very common.
Yeah.
Mostly I just forget about trying to write a song and I just go make
Live.
some noise.
Ujú.
And
Cuando empieza a escribir, él prefiere hacerlo libremente, sin agenda, sin tiempo, sin límites, ¿no? Y bueno, que a veces te levantas con una gran idea en la cabeza, pero bueno, que eso no suele ocurrir muy comúnmente, ¿no? Que eso ocurre a veces y bueno, pero lo mejor para él es dejar su cabeza y que las ideas vayan viniendo un poco.
so then, you know, out of this kind of chaos, maybe something will kind of captivate me as a kind of theme or something, and I might zero in on that little moment. It might be a little piano thing, or probably the piano would be the first place for me to go, you know, when I want to get into that mood. Although sometimes, you know, I pick up other instruments.
El primer instrumento al que acude casi siempre es el piano, para empezar a darle forma a esa idea. Aunque a veces acude a otros instrumentos, pero lo primero es el teclado, siempre el piano.
Well, although there's so many instruments that we have, like synthesizer instruments and digital kind of, well, like stuff that they use for making dance music can be taken apart in a way and made into something a little more demented.
Like digital tools?
Yeah, like different kinds of synthesizers that make loops and things that
But
are,
analogic synthesizers? Or
no, everything's in here.
in here?
Yeah,
Okay. También acude mucho a sintetizadores digitales y herramientas digitales para crear sonidos y...
Pero al final siempre se basa en la melodía, la música en sí. Las letras son una cosa secundaria, entonces.
The lyrics are a secondary thing? Or
Well,
because you are talking about
yeah,
melodic.
the weird thing is that for me, like, lyrics are really the easy part, I think.
Lo raro es que para él las letras son la parte fácil.
So, because I spend a lot of, I think I'm primed to write because, like, I mean, I blog, like, you know, I write so much. If you go read my blog at kenstringfellow.com, I mean, it's just, my entry just on, like, one country that I visit might be, like, 70 pages or something.
Wow.
You know, like, there's way too much information on my blog.
Too much.
So, I mean,
Él
words...
escribe mucho, tiene un blog y bueno, podéis verlo ahí. Tiene una entrada de un blog que tiene, de un viaje, o sea, una de las entradas de un viaje que hizo recientemente y tiene como 70 páginas que hablan de ese viaje.
¿Cómo se llama el blog?
What's the name of your blog?
It's just at my website, kenstringfellow.com blog.
kenstringfellow.com
Estuve en
blog.
Finlandia el año pasado, que coincidía que él tocaba allí también, y aparecía que era en Turku, la ciudad donde tocaba, y escribió por lo menos 2 páginas solo de un solo día que estuvo allí.
Okay. He's speaking about your concert in Finland last year
Yeah,
or 2 years ago?
1 year ago, just 1 year.
1 year ago in
Turku.
Finland.
Uh-huh.
He was there as well,
Oh.
and he wrote, lo leíste, ¿no? El blog,
You
¿no?
wrote a lot about the stay there in Turku.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Around 2 pages or something like that.
Yeah. Well,
So you follow his blog.
Yeah,
or
something.
oh, that's
some
cool,
kind.
that's great.
And it's not the same writing a text than writing something that you have to rhyme or to...
I'm not sure.
No es lo mismo
Because
escribir un texto que escribir una canción para una canción, ¿no?
que tenga un musical o así.
With
Actually,
musical
I'm not
rhythm,
sure.
you know.
Because for me, it should flow out in a natural way.
Mhm.
Both prose and poetry should have a flow,
Okay.
you know, and
Para él
the-
es fácil soltar tanto, escribir tanto de una forma poética como de una forma así más...
the best moments in the blog are when something like kind of flows out and there's a good joke and a good play on words and it kind of the meanings kind of pile up on each other. And this is also true for a song. It's just that in a song sometimes you have to you can't get as many jokes in, you know, you can't have so many collisions, but each line should have like several interpretations in that way.
In a song.
In a song. I don't know, I think it's not so, for me it's not so different.
Para él no es tan diferente, pero bueno, quizás en una canción sí tienes que concretar muchas ideas en una sola línea y sí.
And you know, using like hip hop as an example, I mean like a lyric like that could have like hundreds of words.
Yeah.
You know, I mean like songs end up being kind of minimal because a melody has only so much room, but if you remove the obligation to melody, then you have no limits in a way, you know.
Si te quitas un poco la obligación que te da la melodía de que tienen que entrar tantas palabras de más, quizás sea más fácil si te quitas ese hándicap, ¿no? De que es para una canción y que tienes este tiempo y esta melodía para meter ahí unas palabras. Si te olvidas de todo eso, quizás sale mejor. Y para él, en realidad, lo que ha querido decir es que es bastante fácil, que simplemente le sale.
One thing I've done in the past for lyric writing also is to write like, this is kind of interesting, kind of William Burroughs style writing technique, but
Yeah, like don't think, just write or
well,
something.
like yeah, so
Automatic writing?
sort of, but I'll explain.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
I write a bunch of prose, right? I take a subject that I want to write about, like, you know, you are a jerk, or I like ice cream, or whatever it is that I'm excited about. And I write like 10 paragraphs. And then I just take like the date of the day, like it's the 29th today, and I go, okay, every 29 words, I pick that word. And because they are in prose where it's all got a meaning, even when you take the words at random out of the meaningful prose, they retain a relation that is something like meaning.
Wow.
And then when you can just fill in the blanks a little bit.
Okay.
I've done this kind of thing before.
Great.
I want to say something about lyric writing. Well, you can explain that.
Okay, él ha explicado que a veces utiliza una técnica de escritura así un poco relacionada con el escritor, bueno, que puede ser que esté relacionada con William Burroughs, el escritor que lo usara, que se trata de escribir una prosa sobre un tema en concreto, me gusta el helado, o este tío es un gilipollas, lo que sea. Y, por ejemplo, se fija en la fecha del día que es, el día 29, y cada 29 palabras coge una palabra y de esa prosa. Entonces, cuando las une, parece ser que aún mantiene un sentido, ¿no? Y aún mantiene el sentido de lo que él ha escrito en el párrafo, digamos, principal, ¿no? Y parece ser que él ha usado esta técnica a veces para escribir algunas de sus letras. Es muy curioso.
But I think you can really get really hung up on, you have a theme and you have an idea and you want to connect to people, and you can get really hung up on being like very faithful to that theme. And I think, you know, the fact of the matter is we have a couple things. One is that like maybe, like we know, people hear your music and your lyric in a different way. It means something different to them automatically, no matter what. Without even if you are totally concrete, even if, you know, I mean, like just there's going to be a translation always.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's the same language, there's a translation. So in a way, you know, why not give them more space then? You know, at the end of the day, why not like say less and give the listener a place to come in? You know, I'm very guilty of writing songs with too many words. You know, and at a certain point, sometimes I feel like maybe I should give the listener some of the work. Like, okay, you bring the meaning. Yeah. I'll give you a framework, and then you step in and you finish it for me.
Yeah, I think that the names of the songs are too long always.
The
mine.
Poses. Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Some of them are really long. Well, even on my last solo album, I have some titles like this, you know, like getting to be like
big sentences.
Yeah, well.
Bueno, está diciendo un poco que a veces menos es más, ¿no? Que darle menos a los que escuchan su música, pues es mejor, pero no puede evitar, escribe mucho, no puede evitar también, pues él piensa que a veces se ha pasado, ¿no? Que son canciones demasiado largas con textos muy largos, pero bueno, que eso. Y estaba comentándole que también opino que algunas de sus los títulos de las canciones también son muy largos, ¿no? Y dice que sí, lo son.
Yo he visto que tal como vas aplicando, bueno, pues se dedica a la producción, al aspecto técnico, al aspecto creativo de la misma canción, música, letra. También ha estado diciendo que aunque confíen en el director, pues también preguntaré si él le gusta hacer eso, o sea, le gusta hacer todo o preferiría dedicarse a un solo campo de la creación musical.
He wants to know if you prefer to do any that you do now with working as in the lyrics, in the sound, and the composition as a producer. You know, you prefer this, or you prefer maybe to work in only one thing?
Oh no, well that would be crazy to only like working on one thing.
Maybe just composition, focus on this thing only, or you prefer to?
I think I'm just really too nervous to sit in one place, you know. And although, you know, lately I have like a love-hate relationship with mixing. And mixing is what people need the most help with, and mixing is like the hardest thing in a way. And I've been mixing so many records lately, and it's so frustrating, and it's so always disappointing. Like I always want it to be so much better. And the fact of the matter is, like, when I had to leave my studio, I was mixing. The last day I was in my studio mixing was Saturday. And Sunday I had a concert in Holland, and then Monday I came here, and I did, you know, I worked a little bit on a mix in my hotel room, and then today we're here. But the fact of the matter is, like, I was so unhappy with the mixing.
Oh.
But at the same time, when I had to leave to like play these shows, I was like, I don't want to leave. You know, it's like. It's like It's like the shell game. You know, like when have you ever seen this thing where like there's a guy and he's got like 3 shells, and he's like, okay, guess which one the seed is under? It's and you're like, oh, it's got to be under that one. Nope. And then you're like, okay, I know I can get it next time. It's like this. You're never gonna win the shell game. The guy with the shells will always win, but you just think you're gonna get there. That's what mixing is like for me. I'm never gonna do it the way I 100% want, but I can't leave it alone.
Él piensa que es demasiado nervioso como para ocuparse solo de una cosa. Él le gusta un poco trabajar en todo, ¿no? Pero quizá la parte que le resulta más frustrante es el tema de la producción, el tema del montaje de las canciones, ¿no? Que, por ejemplo, ha estado trabajando el domingo pasado en el estudio y el lunes se fue a Holanda, o sea, el domingo se fue a Holanda, hoy está aquí, bueno, no sé, más o menos en estos días ha sido así y se ha quedado con ganas de seguir, ¿no? Trabajando allí, ha estado trabajando en la habitación del hotel un poco. Él opina que es como el juego de las 3 conchas, en el que tienes que adivinar dónde se esconde la bolita, ¿no? Y en el que nunca vas a ganar, siempre va a ganar el que maneja el juego, pero bueno, siempre quieres intentar adivinar dónde está y bueno, es un poco, eso es lo que para él es el tema de la producción de sonido, ¿no?
Y entonces se plantea como un modelo para conseguir su producción de esa manera, o cómo lo hace. Es decir, yo quiero que esta mezcla suene como este disco o suene de esta manera. ¿Lo hace así o lo hace de manera que dice, ya me gusta cómo está o dejo así?
How do you work in your productions as a producer? With a model, or with a model that with a reference, maybe?
When you're mixing some song, you say, I'd like this song to sound this way, like this other song. Or you say, now I like this song how it is now. That is okay for me.
Oh, well, it could go either way, really. It depends on what kind of thing we're trying to make. I mean, if we're trying to make something that's really out there, sometimes it should be really experimental and therefore should sound like no reference, you know. Sometimes it should sound maybe more, if they want something that's more slick, you know this word?
Slick.
Slick is like more smooth and more, kind of more commercial, and if they want something like that, then maybe we should, you know, listen to some reference points.
Mm-hmm.
I myself am, like I say, I'm a little bit nervous and a little bit restless, so it's hard for me to stick to a goal. You know, I'm much more an explorer, so I always want to fuck it up and just go crazy and do weird stuff, you know.
No sé trabajar con referencias, pero bueno, cuando quiero hacer algo más comercial, pues sí que toma nota de algunas referencias, pero es muy nervioso y una persona que descansa poco y que siempre está trabajando, con lo cual trabaja más como un explorador. Va probando hasta que consigue lo que quiere, no trabaja con modelos concretos.
But you know, sometimes, you know, you want it to it depends on the goal of the artist too. I mean, if I always tell people, you know, I mean, most people who I'm working with are not coming to me to make, like, you know, 150,000 euro records. You know, I mean, most people are coming to make a record much cheaper.
Yeah.
And when sometimes they say, well, I want to, you know, get on the radio and do all this stuff, I'd be like, well, thing is, you know, like, on the radio is like really expensive records, you know, like it's not an accident how they got there, and they're also spending money. Probably one of the most amazing things I've seen from Seattle as of late is this guy named Macklemore. I don't know if he's been famous over here, but he had a #1 single.
What's his name?
Macklemore.
Mackle.
Que tiene, está sonando de la Rorrito.
¿Tú cómo es? El nombre de
Macklemore.
Macklemore.
Se escribe Macklemore.
Ajá. Macklemore.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Yeah,
he knows.
he had like a #1 single, you know, and he's like a you know, he's a white dude making hip hop, and the fact of the matter is, he had a #1 single in America, and he really did it all himself. I mean, it's pretty impressive, really. But you know, he like spent everything on this. I mean, he like managed to get together. He spent on for the radio promotion of this single, to get it to #1. He spent like more than $100,000 of money that he raised and borrowed.
More money than the producing.
Well, I have no idea, you know, but he did it without a label, you know. So, and he got to #1, which I'm not even sure that's ever happened before. It's something, you know. But when, you know, people tell me, like, oh, you know, well, I really want to get on the radio and want to do this with this record I'm making with you, I'll be like, it's not just me that will make this happen. There's also other things that come into play, you know. But at the same time, like, when you try and make something commercial and you want to do it cheap, I mean, you are competing with people who are not doing it cheap. And if you want to do something very individual, all of a sudden you are the only one in your category. You have a
Maybe.
very good chance of being the best in your category if you are the only one.
But the only one.
So, but it's a fight, you know. Not, I mean, it's a. I am. My morals say to me that we should do the best we can, and that I shouldn't come with limits. I shouldn't tell you that there are limits, even though there kind of are. We should try and make it unlimited.
Okay. Bueno, estaba hablando un poco ahora mismo en Seattle hay un ejemplo de este chico que hace hip hop que ha triunfado muchísimo, por lo visto lo ha hecho él todo, ¿no? Lo ha producido él y demás, pero luego ha invertido mucho dinero en la promoción, ¿no? Que lo que viene a explicar un poco es que no es solo el trabajo de producción. Él comenta que muchos de las personas que vienen a trabajar con él como productor le dicen que quieren sonar en la radio, que quieren tal, y bueno, él le dice que sí, que es posible, pero que no solo depende del sonido que vaya a tener el disco o de cómo vaya a ser el disco, sino que depende también de otras muchas cosas, como son la promoción o demás, y el dinero que inviertas en ella, ¿no? Y bueno, que puedes llegar a ser muy conocido con invirtiendo poco dinero en el disco, pero mucho en la promoción o tal. Y bueno, que si inviertes poco dinero en la promoción y en el disco, quizás si tengas éxito dentro de ese sector, ¿no? Musical, así más independiente, pero que serías el único o algo así.
Otro de los grandes ejemplos, no sé si le conocéis, es Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z también fue autopromoción solo, ningún sello le ofreció nunca un contrato.
He's talking about Jay-Z. He's another example. He didn't work with any promo, enterprise. He made by himself all the promo and también produjo su disco él.
Económicamente sí.
Sí, ¿no?
Sus primeros 2 discos, ya después evidentemente ganó mucho dinero. Pero
Claro. At the beginning he made all by himself, Jay-Z, and he get a lot of fame.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's the other things that come into play too, because like, it's your time, you know, that's a hard thing because it's not everybody's time, you know, so sometimes there are these kind of generational things where your music and your vibe lines up with what's about to happen. And that's also like something that I can't make that happen for someone, you know, I mean, someone's time is someone's time in a way. Mm-hmm. There are certain things where things just line up in a really wonderful way, you know, but you can't really force it.
Yeah. So you think that destiny have a
I'm not sure we can just call it destiny. I think it's like you are like a really good example of what's about to happen.
The
person.
The person.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sí, él está intentando explicarse un poco que bueno, que está también en uno mismo, ¿no? Lo que vayas a conseguir y lo que se dé. Que bueno, que yo le he preguntado que sí, también hay que dejarlo un poco en manos del destino y bueno, no, que también es uno mismo, ¿no? Pero que a veces las cosas solo se dan para que puedas conseguir el éxito que quieres o conseguir lo que quieres. Okay.
Me gustaría saber, Susana, ¿qué disco estás escuchando ahora? ¿Qué cosas está escuchando que le llama la atención y que vuelven regularmente a su equipo, ¿no?
Salva wants to know what are you listening now? What bands are you listening now, for example?
Yeah, pretty much like what I'm working on is what I have to listen to most of the time, you know, like all day long I'm listening to.
Lo que más escucha es lo que está trabajando como as a producer.
Yeah, just like, you know, people are sending me demos, so I'm listening to
Mucha
those.
gente le envía demos
I
y
have to
las
listen
escucha.
to all the mixes, mastering, the stuff.
Escucha las mezclas, escucha los mastering de la gente con la que está trabajando. And other bands that you're not working
Well, I mean,
with?
sometimes, yeah, just not very much.
Name it.
I don't know, all kinds of shit,
Okay.
I don't know.
Todo tipo de
Whatever.
bandas. Whatever.
Just kind of whatever's around, I mean, I might have a few moments to like read some reviews and follow a few links to stuff or whatever, but I mean, pretty much kind of listening to what needs to be listened to all the time.
Sorry, what?
I'm pretty much listening to what I need to be listening to all the
Okay.
time. I mean, it's pretty
Okay.
relentless,
It's quite sad to be working.
You mean you-
only
yeah.
hear music just for work.
Okay.
Well,
you don't,
if that
you don't-
music
yeah,
if that
that's a
music
good
sucked, it
question.
would be sad, but it happens to be awesome.
Sí, él dice que es un poco triste que escuche solamente música con la que está trabajando y bueno, as you said, it's sad, but...
It would be sad if it sucked, but it happens to be good shit that I work
Vale.
on.
Que sería sad, sería triste si fuera una mierda, pero como es buena, pues entonces es genial. Es genial.
Hace pocos meses trabajé como productor de Newman y que cómo ha sido esa experiencia, que le ha parecido.
How about your experience as a producer with Newman Band? Newman? Is the
Yeah,
name?
I wasn't their producer really. We actually
wasn't?
No,
Okay.
we just made this thing. There was kind of no producer in a way on this record that we made together. We just got together and made it. They had kind of a concept for where they wanted to record, which was in a really weird place. Okay, so some of the band lives in Alicante and some of the band lives in Murcia. They live some in each town. In between Alicante and Murcia, there's a very tiny village called Cox. And in this tiny village, they have like a huge symphony auditorium.
Oh.
It's one of those strange, I don't know if you have this term in Spanish, but when we speak about Spain often too, not just Spain but many places, we talk about white elephants.
White elephants.
Do you know about the white elephant?
No.
A white elephant is like a big project where money
Unfinished.
has gone into something totally inappropriate, like
Okay.
why a town of like 5,000 people can have like an airport like as big as like
Yeah.
Charles de
Yeah.
Gaulle.
And it's
empty, and it's not like-
useful. Yeah.
Right, so
Yeah.
Cox, for whatever reason, has this amphitheater, which the building for it is much bigger than this building. So like you see like this small village, one street, a few bars, a few houses, and
And this
then
huge.
way off you see this thing, and you're like, what? So, but they borrowed this auditorium, set the drums up on the stage, and you can imagine it's a very big room with a nice sound actually, so they record the stuff here.
Sorry, it's open air or it's closed?
No, it's inside.
It's inside,
Yeah.
okay.
So they want to record in this place. Kind of interesting, get a big drum sound from this.
Okay. Estuvieron trabajando en un pequeño pueblo entre Alicante y Murcia, donde existe un gran auditorio que es un poco inexplicable que esté allí porque el pueblo es muy pequeñito, solo tiene una calle con algunos bares y casas y de repente te encuentras este pedazo de auditorio que él piensa que en España pasa mucho este tipo de cosas, que se destinan dinero a cosas que luego no se van a utilizar, ¿no? Es lo que él llama white elephant. Exactamente. Entonces, bueno, la banda quería grabar allí y bueno, colocaron ahí en el escenario la batería y demás.
Yeah, and so basically I just showed up and hung out and played a bunch of stuff. We recorded the EP in 2 days, I can tell you that much. And did all the singing and all the playing and everything and made a video all in 2 days, which was pretty awesome.
Él se sintió también interesado en esta experiencia de grabar allí, bueno, también grabaron en 2 días y estuvo muy bien. Grabaron un vídeo también. And the video, they're going to do something with this, like a promo video or something.
Yeah, man.
You know?
It's out. 60,000 plays on one channel already, and
Okay.
on YouTube it's going like 10,000 or something. It's called Hell, the song.
Held.
Hell, Hell.
Okay, Held. El vídeo puede verse en YouTube ahora. La canción se llama Hell y muestra la grabación.
¿Cuánto tiempo tardó en grabar ese vídeo?
¿Perdón?
¿Cuánto tiempo tardó en grabar ese vídeo?
¿El vídeo?
El vídeo.
El vídeo se grabó durante los 2 días, creo. How many times did they spend to record the video?
Well, the part that we did was just like we did the recording for 2 days, and at the end of the second day, from like 11 at night until like 3 in the morning, we did filming for the video in a bar.
Okay.
And then they added some extra footage that they did later, but
Okay.
the part where we're playing is like done in just a couple of hours. You know, there's some interesting things because there's a little bit of stop motion in it.
Oh.
But like it's like writing that writes itself, like, you know what I mean? You don't see the pen, you just see the writing appear.
Okay.
And it's writing on people and things like this. And then there's the band playing, and then there's like this girl that looks like kind of satanic. Who just appears. It's kind of like something from a horror movie, but it not like with makeup. She just is scary. You don't really see her face. So there's like 3 things, but the 3 things seem to come together very well.
El vídeo se grabó durante los 2 días, pero bueno, grabarlos tocando y demás tomó como un par de horas, y luego de 11 de la noche a 3 de la mañana grabaron en un bar también, personas y demás, en un bar del pueblo. Y en el vídeo luego dice que aparecen 3 cosas muy curiosas, que son que se ha hecho en stop motion, que aparece texto escrito pero sin que aparezca el bolígrafo, y va apareciendo sobre las personas. Y también aparece una chica que sale, se asusta, porque como va sobre el infierno es un poco, asusta un poco esta chica, parece. Pero que bien, quedó muy chulo.
Estamos intentando conocer un poco su carrera y lo que está haciendo ahí, y bueno, veo que con un problema. Veo que los artistas anglosajones parece que se les cuesta mezclarse con otras lenguas, otras culturas, y porque tienen una industria musical bastante fuerte. Yo le he visto que ha producido en Europa, ha producido en España, ha trabajado en Estados Unidos y también está contando que en Asia. ¿Dónde se siente más cómodo a la hora de trabajar y dónde se enriquece más culturalmente?
Okay. He noticed that you have been working with a lot of people from different countries, Spain. You're kind of different people, different person of he thinks about the Anglophone industry, you know,
Yeah.
like people who speak English work with people who speak English or something, and you have been working with Chinese people, Spanish people. But he wants to know where do you feel more comfortable, or where do you get more of the country? Where do you feel
Oh, well,
in your experience?
I think that you know, before these guys got here, we mentioned one thing that they missed, which was about, you know, I work with some of these big names and things like that, and we wonder why, you know, what's so special. But I feel like I think I can really fit into lots of different situations in a very kind of calm and unobtrusive way, and this has been kind of good, you know, like when you're making a record, everything is fragile and people are sometimes nervous, so if you can be kind of invisible in a way, like a producer, like instead of like yelling at the people, you just kind of like all of a sudden they're recording and they're like, oh, it's so easy, this kind of thing. So I think the secret, in a weird way, I'm really comfortable everywhere, you know, and
su secreto es que se siente cómodo con todo tipo de personas y en todo tipo de lugares. No es la figura del productor que está gritando o que dice lo que hay que hacer, sino que escucha y es un poco invisible, ¿no? Deja que la gente se sienta cómoda, y un poco ese es su secreto, que se siente bien. You feel comfortable wherever.
I mean, I try,
go.
I do my best, you know,
Or you
but
try.
yeah, but I mean, like, just not to because, like, I don't know, I have a thing about Americans, you know, like sometimes Americans are so naive about that there's a big world out there that's really different. Even though America is full of people who come from other places and speak different languages and stuff, we tend to tune that out. You know, we like everything safe and the same brands and the same everything, you know. And, you know, Americans get really nervous traveling, you know, all of a sudden. I mean, so do French people when things aren't in French and this kind of thing, you know. But I like to be where I don't know what the fuck's going on, you know. Like sometimes I've been in countries where I'm really lost. I can't read anything because they don't even use letters, you know. I can't.
Symbols.
There's no addresses. I have no friends. I have like nothing, whatever, and I'm totally cool with that, you know. And so, in terms of music too, sometimes when you know, I made a record in Senegal and with a Senegalese band, and sometimes the music I couldn't even count it. I didn't even know where one was, you know. Like they were hearing the beat in a totally different way than I was, and just kind of rolled with it.
Okay. Bueno, habla un poco que piensa que los americanos a veces pues son un poco inocentes con respecto al tema de las culturas extranjeras, ¿no? Que la forma de verlas, ¿no? Que tienen, porque y lo cual no se explica porque Estados Unidos está lleno de gente de todos los países que habla todo tipo de todos los idiomas, ¿no? Que deberían de estar más acostumbrados a este tipo de contraste, ¿no? La cultura de Estados Unidos. Pero sin embargo, a la hora de viajar sí que piensa que es verdad que a veces son un poco miedosos, ¿no? Asustados del tema de encontrarse con nuevas culturas, nuevos países. Pero que para él es genial, que no tiene ningún problema. Él, si va de repente a un país en el que no entiende nada, no tiene amigos, no entiende los carteles porque no utilizan ni siquiera nuestro mismo sistema, ¿no? De nuestro alfabeto, y que él está bien con todo eso, no tiene ningún problema, no. Incluso fue a grabar a Senegal y lo mismo, ¿no? Que se encontró ahí.
Mi pregunta es más encaminada en si encuentra en algún punto geográfico, por decirlo de alguna manera, donde ve un movimiento musical variado que le haga disfrutar más de la música o de la composición.
Okay, he means that if you find a geographical point like a country, or where you find como que encuentre como un
abanico más grande de estilo y que vea que eso haga
where you find bands or the sound that you want to work, or it's more easy to work, or for you.
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you find some place in the world where
my answer is the same.
The same.
My answer is the same. It's better to. It's hard for me to rest on one in a sense, because in reality, what would be the most comfortable for me is the next one, the one where I know the less. You know,
lo más cómodo para él es lo siguiente que no conoce. O sea, le encanta llegar a un sitio y no tener ni idea y enfrentarse a algo nuevo y sentirse sorprendido.
I've never
feel surprise, I think.
Yeah, and I've never had a place where I didn't like where I was. You know, I never had a place where, in the end of the day, we can't. You know, what I did with the people there, whether it was in Chile or Trinidad or New Zealand or whatever, where at the end of the day, it didn't feel like a wonderful thing. And maybe that's kind of a great thing about music, is that it's such a big topic that it kind of everybody can participate.
Okay, so please.
Well, just every place that I worked, it you know, I felt good in a sense, you know, and music has so many possibilities that at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's a very welcoming thing, you know.
Okay. Él no quiere construir un tópico de cada sitio al que va. Él simplemente espera sorprenderse al final del día de haber echado un día trabajando aquí o allí, sorprenderse con lo que ha hecho, o sea, sentirse a gusto con lo que ha hecho y sorprenderse al día siguiente con más nuevo, ¿no? Pero no se construye tópicos respecto a los sitios a los que visita y trabaja con ellos.
Al respecto de volviendo otra vez al proceso de mezcla que tanto le gusta. Una pregunta más técnica, ¿cuál es su punto de base para empezar la mezcla? Porque hay gente que empieza con el bombo, hay gente que empieza con el bajo, hay gente que empieza con la melodía.
Okay.
¿Cuál es su...?
He wants to know what's your start point in a mixing.
First thing is like organizing.
Okay.
You know, is like just I just listen to every track. First I listen to everything, all just faders up.
Mm-hmm.
Then I listen to like every track by itself and just figure out like what are some fundamental like concerns, you know. But then yeah, I mean it sort of depends on what the biggest thing is going to be in a way, you know. Sometimes a track is like dominated by like an acoustic guitar or a piano. Sometimes it's like a drum machine, you know. Sometimes it's voice. It's kind of like whatever's going to be in front is kind of like, because everything has to line up behind it in a way. I know there are lots of mixers who start with the voice every time and mix everything behind the voice. I'm not quite so dogmatic though, you know.
Okay. Lo primero es organizarse. Él suele escuchar primero todo el disco, luego va escuchando canción por canción y va construyendo dependiendo de la figura principal que tenga esa canción, ya sea la voz, la guitarra o la batería, va construyendo alrededor, ¿no? de lo que sea la voz principal de esa canción. Okay.
And then I just kind of like, I sort of jump around and I mute lots of things and solo certain things, and you know, like I listen to the music in little sections, you know, like I might listen to like how the guitar and the piano play together, or I might listen to how like...
So you mute the other instruments?
Yeah, and just listen to a couple of things at a time, and
Okay.
The weird thing is, I've found, is by really being hardcore on the individual sounds, like getting the snare kind of perfect, whatever, getting it the way I like, or getting, you know, then in a weird way you can put the faders at 0 and it sounds good already. You know, you can just, like, they kind of, if you get the individual problems kind of solved, you don't have to do so much mixing, as it were. Mixing is just about taking away crap that's in the way, basically.
Taking away crap.
that's in the way, like frequencies that are in the way. You just, you know.
Bueno, él a veces lo que hace mutea ciertos instrumentos para escuchar cómo combinan, por ejemplo, voz y guitarra, mutea todo lo demás, le gusta escuchar cómo va quedando la mezcla entre 2 instrumentos o 3 y va muteando todo lo demás, ¿no? Pero también considera que en realidad mezclar es como ir quitando, ir tirando a la basura aquello que no va haciendo que suene bien. Sorry. You said that it's like mixing is like crapping away?
No, like mixing is like taking away stuff that's in the way. So 90% of it is like just making sure that the low mid-range frequencies are kind of in harmony, because this is where the most traffic is. Like everything has low mid-range frequencies, and when you have too much of them, they just get in the way of the high frequencies. So in a way, it's as simple as that. I mean, like this and 1,000 other things.
Es entre un millón de cosas. Es quitar de en medio lo que va estando en medio y sobra. Y se refiere también a las low mid-range, las frecuencias bajas y las medias, ¿no?
I don't know, I mean, I try and do the less now in a weird way. Like sometimes I've done these very elaborate mixes where there's lots of effects and crazy shit happening and 150 tracks of shit, you know, going crazy. And lately I start to try and do it's like a game to see how little I can do.
It's like a game for you.
Yeah, to see like what's the least I can do to these tracks. and make it sound good. Like rather than trying to Svengali everything and change everything like I'm this grand wizard. Like it's sometimes cool to just say, what is the least I can do to this person's music and have it be a good mix.
Que a veces mejor eso, hacer una lista de lo que quieres hacer, ¿no? O para hacer mejor esa canción, que actuar como un mago aquí, allí, recortando, en fin.
Bueno, yo creo que después de casi, o de poco más de 2 horas de sesión, podríamos dar casi por cerrada la tutoría del rock, ¿no? Donde creo que nos ha hablado de múltiples aspectos de su trabajo, aspectos técnicos, aspectos artísticos, aspectos creativos, aspectos también colaborativos, porque tiene una experiencia desde el punto de vista de la colaboración bastante potente. Gracias Ken por tu participación.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming.
Esperemos que este tipo de sesiones vayan, nosotros lo hemos planteado desde el punto de vista de un punto de encuentro, como antes decía, prácticamente inédito. Esto no se había hecho nunca, poner en contacto a aficionados, a gente tanto de la universidad como de fuera de la universidad, con músicos de primerísimo nivel, como es él, como fueron el otro día Stephen Pastels o ahora Norman Blake, cuando venga dentro del mes. Y bueno, también lo estamos grabando precisamente para que tenga una mayor difusión, para que este tipo de aportaciones que hacen a la cultura musical, a la cultura universitaria, porque Ken es uno de los músicos que ha pasado en diferentes ocasiones por nuestro programa Campus Rock, bueno, pues queden ahí constatadas y tengan una trascendencia, ¿no?, más allá de este espacio. Agradeceros de nuevo vuestra participación, invitaros a que estéis también en la última sesión de este año, que va a ser el día 3 de diciembre, con Norman Blake y con Joe Pernis de New Mendicants, que estaban tocando aquí el día 2, la noche anterior. Y bueno, nada más. Gracias. Vamos a dar un pequeño aplauso a Ken por
Yeah.
Y gracias también a Susana, que hace una magnífica labor de traducción.
Gracias a vosotros.